Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
The views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Tropical depression Wilma caused flooding across several provinces over the weekend.
Medical experts have submitted their evaluation of former President Rodrigo Duterte to the ICC.
The PNP has deployed tracker teams to find those linked to ghost flood control projects.
A Republican lawmaker filed a bill that would abolish dual citizenship in the United States.
First in the news, heavy rains triggered flash floods and landslides across several provinces over the weekend. This is how powerful the rush of water was in Barangay Nangka, Balamban, Cebu yesterday as heavy rains poured over the area. Sitio Buswang looked almost like a sea as floodwaters continued to rise. Roads also became impassable as widespread flooding hit several barangays. In Bicol, this video from Santo Domingo, Albay shows a landslide occurring at the height of heavy rains. Some homes near the slopes were damaged as thick mud and debris came crashing down. Flood waters also covered several roads, halting the movement of riders and vehicles. In Quezon Province, rivers overflowed in several barangays, sending flood waters into communities. In Pitogo Town, deep flooding made roads in barangays Biga and Rizalino completely impassable. According to the NDRRMC, more than 57,000 families were affected across 5 regions. Out of 22 displaced persons, over 18,000 were preemptively evacuated. No casualty has been reported.
Parts of the country will continue to experience rains today due to an LPA and other weather systems. For more updates, we have Pag-asa weather specialist Lean Loreto joining us this morning. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, ma'am. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning to all our viewers. Yesterday, the Bagyong Wilma downgraded into a low-pressure area and is now over the coastal waters of Colasi, Antique, and is currently bringing cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms over Mimaropa and western Visayas. And right now, the shear line is also bringing rains and isolated thunderstorms over Cordillera Administrative Region, Cagayan, Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, Aurora, and Quezon. Meanwhile, for us here in Metro Manila, the rest of Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon and Calabarzon expect cloudy skies with rains due to the amihan. Bicol region will also experience cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms due to the easterlies, but most of Mindanao and Visayas will be experiencing generally improving weather conditions as the LPA has moved farther away from these areas. And right now, a gale warning is still raised over the eastern seaboards of northern Luzon due to the northeast monsoon because sea travel is risky for all types of sea vessels there. That's the latest here at the Pag-asa Weather Forecasting Center. This is Lean Loreto.
Lean, moving forward, ano pa ang effect or impact nitong Wilma or may iwan ni Wilma?
Well, sa ngayon nga po, no, yung si Bagyong Wilma ay naging LPA na lamang and yung LPA na po ito ay magdadala pa rin po ng mga pag-ulan sa may Mimaropa area, especially po sa may Palawan and also sa may western Visayas. But we're expecting in the next couple of hours the possible po, no, sa ngayon, medium chance pa rin naman po na mag-redevelop ito into a tropical depression. But as of the moment, as of our latest analysis, mas tumataas na nga po yung possibility na ito po ay mag-dissipate na lamang. At malaking bahagi na lamang po ng Luzon area and also southern Luzon ay makaka-experience ng mga pag-ulan dahil naman po sa shear line.
Sabi mo, mag-redevelop? When that happens, anong impact nito?
Well, sa ngayon, no, possible pa rin yung redevelopment dahil nga po kung makatawid na po ito sa ating mga kalupaan, so possible kung nasa may West Philippine Sea na ito, ay possible po yung redevelopment. So, kung mag-redevelop po into a tropical depression, yung maapektuhan na lang po is areas na lang po ng Palawan. But as of the moment nga po, tumataas po yung chance na ito po ay mag-dissipate na lamang.
Alright, so are we also monitoring any weather systems at the moment that would possibly enter the Philippine area of responsibility?
In the next 2 weeks, we're not expecting any low-pressure areas or any severe weather disturbances to form and affect the country. Pero The other weather systems like shear line, northeast monsoon, and easterlies will continue to bring rains over the eastern sections of Luzon.
And possibly, ilan pa yung ine-expect natin na bagyo for this year?
For this year, 0 to 1 na lang po yung ating inaasahan.
So possibly si Wilma na yung huli.
Sana.
Yes po, possibly po.
Well,
Hopefully.
fingers crossed.
Alright, with that, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Ang ating pag-asa weather specialist, Lian Loreto.
Right, an independent panel of medical experts has completed its evaluation of detained former President Rodrigo Duterte and submitted its report to the International Criminal Court. Duterte's lawyer, Nicholas Kaufman, confirmed that both the defense and prosecution have received the confidential findings, with all parties invited to submit their observations by December 12. The ICC pretrial chamber earlier created the three-member panel to assess Duterte's fitness to stand trial amid claims from the defense that the former president is experiencing cognitive decline. Composed of specialists in forensic psychiatry, neuropsychology, and geriatric and behavioral neurology, the panel was instructed to determine whether Duterte has any medical issues that could affect his ability to understand the charges, evidence, and overall conduct of the pre-trial process.
President Bongbong Marcos said he's open to unity talks, but Vice President Sara Duterte just laughed off the idea. Here's a report.
For the sake of unity, President Bongbong Marcos says he is open to holding talks with anyone, including Vice President Sara Duterte. When the Vice President was asked about the President's offer of dialogue, her reply was brief. VP Sara is currently in The Hague, Netherlands to visit her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, at the ICC detention facility. While there, she took a swipe at the corruption controversies hounding the government.
Malungkot ang Pasko natin dahil hindi natin gusto ang mga nangyayari sa ating bansa, lalong-lalo na yung mga iskandalo sa korupsyon at yung pag-aabuso sa posisyon at mga opisina ng gobyerno.
The Vice President also confirmed she is preparing for another impeachment complaint expected to be filed against her.
We're about to release a statement about the impeachment, no? So lalabas namin yan. Meron lang akong mga edits and amendments doon.
VP Sara also answered critics questioning her office over the supposed purchase of overpriced laptops.
Wala pong findings na ganun ang Commission on Audit. No? Kung nakita ninyo sa statement ng Office of the Vice President, pinublish na yung report ng Commission on Audit at wala silang findings of any wrongdoing sa Office of the Vice President.
According to the COA audit report, the OVP had listed 3 million pesos worth of laptops, but the OVP clarified to COA that the item was erroneously recorded by a staff member. They said these were not laptops but photocopying machine that were donated along with a desktop computer. For News 5, I'm Bril Montalvo. We are One News.
Well, yan nga yung pinag-uusapan last year, no, based on the Commission on Audit's report, pero nilinaw nga ng Office ng Vice President na nagkamali daw sila because kumalat din sa social media yung taas ng presyo ng per laptop.
Yeah.
So parang lumalabas 300,000 per unit, pero sinasabi nila that's a photocopy machine. Pero parang ang taas pa rin yun, ano? Tapos may mga CCTV cameras
300,000 per unit?
Oo,
Malaki
CCTV equipment din or unit, yung mga malaki din yung presyo doon sa report na yon na even if you say it's the system that you are paying for, parang ang laki pa rin nun kasi
300
outside the market parang pinakamataas na daw is 22,000.
Kung 300,000 per unit,
per unit.
Kung per unit mahal yon, pero kung 300,000 ang
Per unit
ang overall system price, pwede yun kasi may malaki parang sa MMDA. Pero kung per unit, mahal talaga. I mean,
so they have to clear that up also.
Tsaka modern ng technology ngayon, namumura ng mga CCTV, mga camera, mumura niya. Ayun. At saka, ayun, sinasabi rin ni... Go ahead.
No, I was gonna go back to dun sa earlier report that you read kanina regarding the medical evaluation ginawa ng pre-trial chamber sa ICC for the former president, no? Kasi yan yung isa pang inaantay natin na magiging desisyon nila, because this is what the defense team, 'di ba, of former President Duterte has been asking. Na sinasabi nila to suspend the trial because the president himself or the former president himself is not fit to stand trial.
Cognitive decline daw. He doesn't understand. Baka he might not understand the whole process that's happening. Pero ang secret pa until now, until magkita-kita sila yung prosecution, defense, and the pretrial chamber. Pero ang pinapakita kasi ng iba yung right before na-aresto, at least a day or the same day na na-aresto si former President Duterte, very sharp naman ang pag-campaign niya for his senatorial balls, diba? And very sharp ang pinagsasalita niya sa campaign speech. He sounded good, he sounded strong.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, if you remember, nung na-arrest siya, tapos present siya, anuhin ko lang to, present siya, nagsalita siya, parang ang weak na niya all of a sudden. So yun lang pinapoint out ng mga tao.
Okay.
Now let's discuss the latest developments regarding this issue at the ICC with Attorney Gilbert Andres, an ICC accredited lawyer. Attorney, thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Attorney, nakamute po ata
Nakamute.
kayo. We can't hear you. Let's try that again.
Morning.
Yun, perfect.
Yun, Attorney, thank you for joining us this morning. We were talking about a while ago yung issue on the former president about his fitness to stand trial. Now, do you have any idea what's going to happen?
Well, we don't really know as of now, what the actual medical evaluation, because that's really just given to the parties. And I don't think there's a publicly redacted version. What I do know is that this was passed to the pretrial chamber last December 5. And then December 12, all of the parties and participants, that means to say the Office of the Prosecutor, the Defense, as well as the Office of the Public Counsel for Victims, they will give their observations on the said matter.
But if and when the pretrial chamber decides based on the findings on the medical evaluation, at nakita po nila doon, let's say for example, hypothetically, ay hindi nga po fit to stand trial si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, what happens then to the case?
Well, first and foremost, fitness to stand trial, it's a legal term. So it's really the pretrial chamber which will determine that. It's not the three-person panel.
Right.
The three-person panel will only discuss and will only analyze any medical conditions that might affect Mr. Duterte's participation. And then they will actually suggest any mitigating factors or any, yung mga paraan paano minimize. But having said that, it's really up to the pretrial chamber to determine Mr. Duterte's fitness to stand trial.
Meron ba tayong precedents for something like this, Attorney? Kasi some would say na, well, his fitness to stand trial doesn't mitigate any guilt on his part. Rather, siguro, matutuloy yung trial. Ang sabi ng iba, pwedeng matuloy, pero yung sentence would be different.
Actually, let's try to separate those two issues, because they're actually very separate. Fitness to stand trial only means that the person, the detainee, the accused, the suspect understands his or her rights and can exercise those rights. Now, as to guilt or non-guilt or justifying circumstances, it's really a separate matter because it pertains to the mental state of that person when the offenses were committed.
Okay, it says here po based on the report that they are tasked to assess whether any special measures or adjustments are recommended to address any of Duterte's medical conditions. So, alam po ba natin ano kaya yung adjustment na yun or special measures that they will do for this case, just in case?
As of now, it's really difficult to define those special measures recommended. But we can also expect that there will be a publicly redacted version because, in fact, even the conclusions, the findings itself of the three-person panel, they should be publicly available after the necessary reduction. So we should expect that siguro a few days or weeks from now.
So, well, alam natin wala pang decision, but of course, Attorney, I have to ask you straight out kasi Is there a chance na hindi na matuloy itong kaso? Kasi for the average Joe, like most of our viewers, hindi na intindihan ano yung mga nangyayari.
But for us, for the victims of the war on drugs, we really hope that this will continue on to confirmation of charges because we believe that Mr. Duterte is fit to stand trial. In fact, the daughter of the president, even of the former president,
Yes.
even spoke to him about politics. And if you can understand politics, then you have the cognitive ability on its face of the situation. So that's really the belief of the victims of the war on drugs. And we hope that the pretrial chamber will confirm that and will schedule ultimately the confirmation of charges.
Okay, so meron po kasi nakalagay dito sa report na by December 12, the parties have been invited to make any observations on them by December 12. So what is going to be happening in that event?
Well, it will be a written pleading that will be filed by the parties and participants, so OTP, the defense, and the OPCV. And we expect also that it will be published after the necessary redactions. So, mga observations na po yan, written lang po yan, wala talagang hearing na tinatawag. Kasi after that, then the pretrial chamber will determine after looking at all of the necessary documents.
Would you know po, I understand, sabi niyo po, hopefully yung redacted version ng ICC pretrial chamber po dito sa magiging desisyon nila sa medical evaluation ay maipalabas, ay maipakita po sa publiko. Pero would you know po kung kailan po sila talaga makakapag-desisyon so that, of course, yung mga victims po natin are waiting pa rin po para masimulan na nga po itong confirmation of charges pa lang po tayo, hindi pa tayo nakakapunta dun eh.
Opo, it's really difficult as of now to give a specific date, but it should be a reasonable period. So when I say reasonable period, it should maybe more or less 1 month. But
Very soon
for me, that's a reasonable period. It should not be years. It should just be months or even at most 1 month.
And for now po, yun lang po ba yung inaantay natin? Kasi natapos na tayo dun sa isa natin na inantay, yung sa interim release. Tapos ngayon, yung medical evaluation so that we could move forward to the confirmation of charges.
Well, we're also waiting for the decision of the appeals chamber on the appeal on the jurisdictional challenge. Remember that the defense also assailed the jurisdiction of the ICC and then that was actually dismissed by the pretrial chamber. And they actually elevated that to the appeals chamber. So we also hope that there will be a same procedure, there will be a scheduling order by the appeals chamber. And so that's also what we're awaiting.
Yung attorney, kasi may pinapoint outan yung iba na the day, we were also talking about it kanina, that the day before the president was arrested, he was very sharp and the usual old former President Duterte in giving a speech in Hong Kong. And all of a sudden, for some pointed out that hindi naman daw dapat ganong kabilis ang cognitive decline coming from that to a few months after being detained. Will the court or the pretrial chamber take this into consideration?
Of course, the pretrial chamber will take into consideration all of the circumstances, all of the data submitted to it, as well as all of the pleadings, both from the three-person panel, the OPCV, the OTP, as well as the defense. So I think all of the necessary data after December 12 will be before the pretrial chamber. So it will give an informed decision.
Pero I was wondering, attorney, whatever the decision on this medical evaluation by the pretrial chamber, mag-a-appeal ba ulit, whoever?
After?
Oo, kasi parang may ganun pa rin po bang proseso?
Well, that's always a remedy available under the rules of procedure and the Rome Statute. But let me just also clarify that actually there's no precedent of a accused or a detainee who's challenging his or her fitness to stand trial. The ICC has not yet granted the challenge based on fitness to stand trial. So that's the ICC jurisprudence as it stands.
Unique on its own, kumbaga, parang first time ito dyan na nangyari.
Well, actually, there were also challenges before. Al Hassan, for example, but the ICC just affirmed that the accused is fit to stand trial. So let's see what will be the pretrial chamber's decision.
Well, attorney, of course, anong tanong ng marami, let's say, na-resolve na natin yung mga appeals, tapos we go to the confirmation of charges. What other roadblocks or can we expect from the defense team na pwede nila i-mount to delay the trial from starting?
Well, it's really difficult to answer that question because that's up to the defense. But for us, the victims, we're ready to file the victims' views and responses because the victims have been waiting for this.
Right.
Wala po sila naghihintay ng hustisya para po sa kanilang mahal sa buhay.
So, attorney, sana next year meron na kaya tayong trial?
We really hope, and next year, the important date is after January 27 because January 27 is the start of the calendar year of the ICC.
Okay.
So, after January 27.
Yun nga po, attorney, we've been talking about the defense, legal strategy, whatever. Lagi na lang po yung tungkol kay Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. But seldom we talk about the victims. How are they po? Ano po yung mga reaksyon nila dito sa proseso na nangyayari sa kanilang kaso?
Well, naiinip na rin sila. Gusto na nilang ipagpatuloy, yung pong confirmation of charges kasi alam naman po natin, it's been how many years? About 9 years since the start of the 2016 warrant. In fact, last Friday, there was a filing before the Philippine Supreme Court of a motion for reconsideration, on the Tokhang survivor incident, So, matagal na rin po, opo. Kami naman sa Center Law, we've been handling war on drugs victims since 2016. We're ready and able to represent the victims of the war on drugs.
Right. So if and when the trial proceeds, are we going to be expecting, aside from the victim's family and the victims themselves, yung mga known personalities will be testifying, such as Congresswoman Laila de Lima, Senator Trillanes, yung mga ganun?
Okay, as to the ICC, it's really up to the Office of the Prosecutor because they have that burden and the duty to present the victims or present any witnesses that will actually confirm the charges. So, in fact, the SOP in the ICC, they don't really talk about it. They don't really reveal or disclose it.
Right.
Publicly, doon na lang sa mga parties. So, let's see how the OTP will deal with this matter.
Attorney, I'd like to take this opportunity also, pinag-uusapan na rin kasi natin dito yung impending possible arrest of Senator Bato anytime. Ano po reaction ng mga, mga victims or yung mga families ng victims about this?
Well, they're really hoping that eventually there will be an ICC arrest warrant against Senator Bato de la Rosa because if you just follow logic, it was then Chief PNP Bato who issued Command Memorandum Circular 16-2016 of the double barrel. And that was really the basis for the extrajudicial killings under the war on drugs, which formed the basis of counts 2 and 3 against Mr. Duterte. So they're really, really hoping that the ICC will issue an arrest warrant against Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Well, some legal luminaries are saying as well na if, let's say for example, pwede daw po si Senator Bato de la Rosa would take sole responsibility of this war on drugs para daw po mapalaya si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. First question, is that even legal? Second question, would that sit well with the victims?
Well, yung first question muna, they have different criminal responsibilities under the Rome Statute. Kasi there's indirect perpetrator, as well as inciting, as well as other modes of criminal responsibility charged against Mr. Duterte. And so, there's also a different mode for Senator Bato, if ever. And so the admission of guilt by one does not actually erase the guilt of the other. We know that even in local jurisprudence, yung conspiracy, and remember the context here is an international crime for crimes against humanity, for murder. Therefore, any admission does not erase the criminal liability of another one. Now, number 2, actually for the victims, they're really asking for full justice. So whoever were responsible, especially the masterminds, especially those at the top echelons of the Philippine government and the PNP, They're really asking for justice because as of now, actually, our victims filed a ombudsman criminal complaint against the low-level perpetrators. It was dismissed by the ombudsman. That's public record. And there was a petition for certiorari before the Supreme Court to challenge the dismissal by the ombudsman. It was also dismissed by the Supreme Court. That's why we filed last Friday a motion for reconsideration. And our argument is that this might actually show absurd situation, a potentially absurd situation, wherein the mastermind is being under custody and being facing charges before the ICC, but the low-level perpetrators, they're actually not being prosecuted. So all of the victims, they really want full justice for the victims of the war.
Alright, with that, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Attorney Gilbert Andres, an ICC accredited lawyer. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Maraming salamat po at mabuhay tayo.
Sabi nga lang nila, pag ginahuli na si Bato, mahaba na naman proseso, parang yung former president. Confirmation ng charges, baka may cognitive decline din na naman.
I was gonna ask nga, attorney, kaso wala na tayong time kanina regarding Bato's possible arrest, kung ano yung magiging proseso ulit. Definitely, it's not going to be just like former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest daw.
Yeah.
Kasi even si former spokesperson Harry Roque, he said, 'di ba, sabi wag ka dun sa post niya na meron na daw nakalabas na ICC warrant of arrest, wag ka magpahuli, sabi niya, kailangan mag-appear ka muna sa Philippine court,
And
diba?
before we go, sabi nga nila, pag mahuli na si Senator Bato, siguro yung jurisdictional issue, mabilis na lang yan kasi may precedents na.
Yeah.
Oo, yun na lang. Yung iba na lang, yung cognitive.
But the question here is now, where is Senator Bato de la Rosa? We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The PNP has deployed intelligence and tracker teams to find contractor Sara and others linked to ghost flood control projects. Acting PNP Chief Jose Melencio Nartate says police units are now on alert ahead of the expected issuance of arrest warrants. The Ombudsman has recommended filing charges of malversation through falsification and violations of the anti-graft law against Vizcaya and her co-respondents. Nartate says the operations are meant to pressure the suspects to surrender.
Nawawala ba si ano?
No, pero the recent...
But they've been active naman sa mga hearings.
They've been attending ICI. Well, prior to that, kasi di ba before meron silang mga sinabi na parang ayaw na nila muna mag-cooperate kasi hindi naman sila magiging...
So kahit si Curly?
Oo. Tapos na kasi alam
diba
ko si Curly nasa sa Senate, if I'm not mistaken. Let's double check that though. Let's confirm that. Pero yun nga, dun, based on the last report, sinabi man nila si Sara Vizcaya is still in passing.
So not missing. It's just that task force lang to.
On alert lang sila na once lumabas yung arrest warrant, ready na sila to arrest these people.
Tapos si Curly, nasa Senate lang if ever.
Yeah, I think, wala naman.
Kasi hindi pa terminated ang hearing ng Senate
Oo,
di ba? Yung Blue Ribbon.
At saka nagiging automatic lang silang free kung nag-end ang Congress. Diba?
End ng
Congress, for example, yung nangyari
Senate.
kay Sandra Leong, nag-end, di ba? Parang ganun, kaya nakakawala siya. Ngayon, ang bantayan nila dyan, hindi lang yung yung ordinary exit, but yung yung mga back channel. Kasi usually dyan dumadaan talaga lahat di ba? But apparently, wala naman tayong doon.
Si Harry Roque, doon dumaan, di ba? Sino pa ang...
Yung kay Cassandra Leong, wala pa kasi akong confirmation, di ba? When we also ask ang PAOK regarding this, kung may confirmation sila kung saan dumaan si Cassandra Leong, hindi pa rin nila masabi kung nag-back channel siya o hindi.
Wait, may isa pa. Si, ano ba date ngayon? 8, si Bonoan. Kailan ba ang balik niya? Supposedly?
December 17, if I'm not mistaken.
So 9 more days, nakabantay tayo.
Pero ang sinasabi naman ni Ombudsman Remulla dyan, he's very confident because sabi niya may extradition treaty naman tayo sa US if he's still in the US.
But the issue is here, hindi yun ang issue, extradition. Alam naman natin, meron yan. Ang issue is, ba't nakakalabas sila lahat pa isa-isa?
Well, kasi ito kasi si Bonoan, wala pang charges
Yeah.
Diba? So, kung wala kang charges, wala kang hold departure order. Diba? Even lookout bulletin, mahirapan ka dyan.
I understand, pero paano may explain sa Ordinary citizen, di ba?
Kaya maintindihan mo din yung frustration
Totoo.
nung mga tao. And of course, yung mismo mga nasa ICI, because they don't have enough powers. And meron pa mga balita, even si Ombudsman Remulla has said last week, if I'm not mistaken, na parang baka wind up na yung ang tawag dito, yung investigation ng ICI.
Alright,
Alright.
baba.
Okay.
Okay. The remains of a Filipino crew member who drowned after MV Eternity Sea was attacked by Houthi rebels in the Red Sea have been repatriated to Manila. Here's our report.
The remain of one of the 3 Filipino crew members who died aboard MV Eternity Sea arrived in Manila on Saturday. The ship was attacked by Houthi rebels in the Red Sea in July while en route to Somalia.
May proseso ho kasi yan na clearance from the host country. Of course, one would be yun pong sa report of death. So, inaasikaso pa ho yan. Migrant Workers Office would have to coordinate with the mortuary.
The family of the deceased will receive financial assistance. Last Thursday, 9 crew members arrived in the Philippines after being held captive by the rebel group for 5 months.
Yun pong 9 ay sila po ay sabihin po natin they were held captive and so it took some time. They were assisted, they were saved, they were rescued by the foreign authorities.
They are now undergoing documentation and medical checkups.
Dahil after going through 5 months na sila po ay hindi natin alam kung anong na mga pangyayari sa kanila. So may mga stress debriefing at medical check-up po.
The DMW will also verify the crew members whose right to refuse to sail was respected. The agency has previously advised against sailing in the Red Sea due to the attack and continues to remind licensed manning agencies and seafarers of this right.
Kailangan po ay hindi yan mapaparusahan yung officer or yung seafarer kung siya ay ayaw tumuloy sa kanyang paglalayag. Hindi ito dapat taken against you or to prevent you from boarding another vessel kasi baka maapektuhan ang kanyang opportunity to be on board again. So it should not be taken against the seafarer.
One seafarer remains missing.
Sana ito na yung huling pangyayari na merong ma-held hostage or captive by the rebels.
Alright, oo. Kasi yung ibang mga victims doon sa attack ng Houthi rebels doon sa sa ship nila were able to go home na dito.
Oo.
And we were talking about this last week. They're going to be given financial, livelihood aid, even psychosocial debriefing because very traumatic itong nangyari sa kanila. But of course, like we said last week, 'di ba, magandang ma-address din yung problema dito na hindi na muna talaga payagan yung ating mga kababayan na mag-sail doon sa mga danger zones.
In the span of this last 2 years, kahit nung panahon ng brunch, may mga coverage tayo or news, laging may issue na, sige, pumirma sila ng waiver, binigyan sila ng hazard pay because alam nilang pupunta sila doon. At the end of the day, the government comes back. Of course, we'd like to rescue them and we'd want them to be safe. Pero paulit-ulit this happens, di ba? At saka yung safety nila is compromised kasi based on sa waiver nila. So I remember we were talking to somebody before, I think if it was from Foreign Affairs. They were saying they're looking into a situation wherein they can outrightly prevent them from going to these areas.
Pwede naman
lalo na pag alam mong very dangerous yung
pagbawal mo
pupuntahan
na
nila.
lang. Wala na yung mga waiver because we all know what happens even if they sign the waivers, 'di ba? Kasi para din naman to sa safety ng ating mga kababayan na nagtatrabaho, 'di ba? At the end of the day, syempre, mas importante pa rin yung buhay natin more than the money that we can get. But hopefully nga this is going to be the last time na nangyari ito. Kasi I remember, 'di ba, when we broke the news here, meron pa tayong mga Pinoy na nawawala, unconfirmed kung nasaan sila, etc. Alright, in other news, the Supreme Court has unanimously ordered the return of 60 billion pesos in PhilHealth funds previously transferred to the National Treasury. Executive Secretary Ralph Recto, who was Finance Secretary at the time and directed PhilHealth to remit the funds, said he respects the ruling. PhilHealth also welcomed the decision. House Committee on Appropriations Vice Chairperson Zia Alonto Adyong said that regardless of the ruling, the lower chamber has already restored the amount through the 2026 national budget during the passage of the General Appropriations Bill. Meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte said the decision of the country's highest court must be followed as it is the final arbiter of the law.
Now, joining us to further discuss this matter is PhilHealth spokesperson Israel Ish Pargas. Good morning, spokes. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Doc Ish.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Angelo and Angela.
Doc,
And magandang umaga rin sa lahat ng ating tagapanood.
alright, Doc, thank you very much for joining us. Ano po reaction natin sa ruling ng SC?
Well, tinatanggap natin ang desisyon ng Korte Suprema, gaya rin ng ating mga dating pahayag, na whatever decision of the court, we will of course accept it. And it's a welcome decision po.
So ano po yung mangyayari dito? Kasi according to Congressman Adyong, regardless sa decision na restore naman daw yung sa 2026, pero meron din yung order ng Supreme Court na kailangan ibalik. So paano po yung setup nito?
Well, sa ngayon po, hindi pa natin napapag-usapan kasi bagong-bago pa lang yung desisyon. But, although ang utos ng Korte Suprema is immediately executory,
Okay.
meron din po dong nakalagay na kailangang pag-aralan pa rin ng Solicitor General and to see whatever will be the next step. Pero tama rin po kayo na doon po sa ipinapasa na GAA for 2026, the 113 billion as a subsidy for PhilHealth, yun pong 60 billion doon ay yun daw po ay equivalent to the yung pong ating ibinalik na pera. And yung talagang subsidy from the sin tax is around 53. So, nag-total siya ng 113 billion.
Okay.
So, paano po ma-account ng PhilHealth itong pagbabalik ng 60 billion pesos doon sa budget? Will it go to the budget itself? Anong programa po yung saan natin ilalagay yun? And is PhilHealth also willing for a breakdown, yung mga easy-to-access breakdown para po makita ng tao for transparency na balik na at na-account for itong 60 billion na to at gagamitin nga ito para doon sa what it is intended for?
Well, kung ang magiging paraan or mekanismo nito would be through the GAA of 2026, then kapag ka po na-sign na ng Pangulo into law yung GAA for 2026, then it will be released to us by the DBM. So, kung marirelease po siya sa DBM, papasok po siya sa budget ng PhilHealth. And of course, we are very willing sa larangan at sa pangalan ng transparency to account for kung saan natin gagamitin itong 60 billion. Of course, it will support the sustainability of our program, but it will also pose as a challenge for us. Kasi kailangan naming maipakita sa bawat tao at sa bawat Pilipino na yung pong pera na ibinibigay sa amin, bawat piso ay may kaakibat na benepisyo at serbisyo.
Doc Ish, baka you can refresh our memory. No? Yung 60 billion, ano ba yung original intent niya bago kinuha?
Well, it's part of our funding to support all our programs. Although ang sinasabi nila is because those are part of the idle fund.
Yes.
Kasi hindi daw namin nagagastos pa. Kaya po naiutos na ito ay ibalik. Actually, ang amount nga noon is around 89.9 billion. Pero ang lipat lang natin is around 60 billion because naglabas na ng TRO ang Supreme Court.
That's right. Pero yung idle funds, Doc Ish, was this due to yung mga investments ng PhilHealth sa portfolio or was this through savings or increased collections?
No. These are, of course, these are part of the collection, part of the investment earnings na kung saan nadadagdag siya sa pera ng PhilHealth at ang sinasabi nga dahil medyo mabunagal yung pag-ibig PhilHealth sa mga programa, medyo malaki yung idle funds na sinusulit.
Okay.
Well, what internal reforms are we looking at, Doc Ish, to make sure that in the future we won't be talking about this anymore? And yun po. Ano po yung tinitignan natin?
Well, for one, we already have the approved restructuring and reorganization of the corporation para po maka-adapt kami to our mandate for the universal healthcare. So that's for one. We're preparing already for that. Second is, of course, we are pursuing really the digitalization and improvement of our processes and systems to make our operations more efficient. Not only for payment of claims but also for developing new benefits. Third is we are already having our prioritization for the benefit plan para po taon-taon meron na tayong mga nakaplano na benepisyo, either expansion or new benefits that will come out para masigurado na yung pong pera or yung pondo ay merong pupuntahan na. So yun po yung ating... Yes.
Go ahead, Doc.
Kaya po, actually ngayon po, meron na tayong mga nakaplano na benefit plan for 2026 at meron tayong mga inaasahan na expanded benefits and new benefits. Hopefully, at the start of the year, meron na tayong ma-introduce.
Ano yung maasahan natin sa start of the year na binabanggit niyo, Doc, if you can share?
Well, alam niyo naman po that we are pivoting our priority to the primary care. So, at ito nga po yung ating tinatawag na YAPA program na in-introduce natin ngayong taong ito na kung saan meron tayong libreng konsultasyon, libreng gamot na dati ay 21 free medicines, ngayon po ay 75 free medicines already with a maximum of 20,000 per person per year. Tapos may libreng diagnostics din po ito. And soon, i-launch na rin po natin yung ating libreng screening test for cancer like breast cancer, colorectal cancer, liver cancer, and lung cancer. So we are really focusing now our efforts towards the primary care to make sure na malayo sa sakit ang ating mga miyembro.
That's nice to hear. Pero yung sa binanggit ni Angela, yung reforms within the PhilHealth, yung mga binanggit yung packages, yung pera na makukuha natin from yung investment portfolio, does that mean hindi na siya papasok sa savings ng PhilHealth at diretso sa mga bagong packages?
Well, actually, opo. It will actually support and make sure the sustainability of the program. Kasi kung makikita po ninyo, yun po ngayong 2025, nakapagbayad na tayo sa ating benefit payout ng 250 billion pesos as of October, which is 83% more from 2024. Kung kaya't makikita po natin na yun talagang pumapasok na pera sa atin, ay ibinabayad din lang natin sa ating mga benefits.
Okay.
Such that, and with the expansion pa and new benefits that will come out, we will make sure na lahat po ng perang papasok sa atin will be used as part of the benefit payout sa atin.
Right. Base nga po doon sa Supreme Court ruling, sinasabi nila itong paglilipat ng pondo na ito mula sa PhilHealth to the Government National Treasury ay also conflicted with the Universal Healthcare Act natin. So, I was wondering, Doc Ish, if can we guarantee or can PhilHealth guarantee na meron po kayong institutional independence moving forward to make sure po na you are going to protect yung ating pera, no, yung funds, no, yung mga reserve funds, no, against budgetary decisions ng executive?
Well, for one, the universal healthcare implementation is a whole of government, whole of society approach. So, yung PhilHealth po ay isa lamang sa nagpapatupad ng Universal Healthcare Act. Second is, ang ating pong budget for the indirect contributors ay nanggagaling sa government subsidies. At ito nga po ay nasusulat sa VAA coming from the proceeds from the sin taxes. So, for any budgetary independence, mukhang hindi po natin yan magagawa because, yun nga pong nabanggit ko, we are dependent on the government subsidy for the premium contributions of our indirect contributors. But, para po sa operations ng PhilHealth, ay meron naman po tayong independence on that. Although, the legislative and the executive has an oversight power over PhilHealth.
Alright, taking this opportunity, Doc Ish, to ask you na rin regarding yung update po natin dun sa mga backlog po ng hospital bills na binabayaran po ng PhilHealth sa mga ospital.
Well, yes. Gaya ng nabanggit ko kanina, we already have paid around 250 billion pesos as a benefit payout as of October. And on a national average po, we are paying good claims for around 23 days. So, mas mabilis po yun doon sa naka-allot na 60 days. Kung meron man po tayong mga nagtatagal sa pagbabayad, ito po ay yung mga hindi good claims. Ito yung mga denied claims o yung mga claims na ibinabalik natin kasi may kakulangan sa mga requirements or for compliance. So, para po mabayadan natin agad ang ating mga ospital, sana ay maayos at magandang claim na po ang naipapag sa nila. Yes.
Oo. Pero do we have actual figure that we can tell the people how much po yung binabayaran pa ng PhilHealth na sinasabi nilang unpaid sa hospitals?
Oh, wala akong data ngayon but I can forward it to you
Yes,
later.
please. Okay. Alright, with that,
Yes,
maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. We will continue to get in touch with you regarding these concerns. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. PhilHealth spokesperson, Israel Vargas.
Magandang umaga, Angela and Angelo. Thank you.
Don't go away, we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
Republican Senator Bernie Moreno has filed the Exclusive Citizenship Act of 2025, a bill that would abolish dual citizenship in the United States. It would force dual nationals to choose one citizenship within a year, and anyone who fails to act or later acquires a foreign nationality would automatically lose U.S. citizenship. But legal experts say the proposal is unconstitutional as the bill's automatic loss provisions directly violate the 14th Amendment, which protects citizenship as constitutional right. The Philippine Embassy in Washington stressed the bill is not yet law and remains only a proposal that must undergo lengthy deliberations. Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez added that the measure is not aimed at Filipinos, describing Filipino Americans as one of the most respected groups, widely known for complying with U.S. laws.
Former COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon was caught on video in a heated confrontation with a couple inside a mall in Makati last night.
Hindi ka nga naka-Rolex! Hindi ka nga naka-Gucci! Ako ba pinili mo? No, I want your name!
In the clip, Guanzon can be seen angrily pointing at the man and demanding his name after she was allegedly scolded when she coughed due to an itchy throat. The woman reportedly apologized, but Guanzon claimed the husband looked her up and down, which further escalated the situation. The former commissioner has since filed unjust vexation and grave oral defamation charges against the couple.
Hindi naman ako nagagalit kung hindi talagang sukdulan yung injustice or mali, di ba?
With the MMFF just weeks away, Signal and MQuest Ventures have unveiled one of this year's biggest entries, Manila's Finest. The cast says the film's message on justice and accountability remains just as timely today. Mobile journal Denise Valdesancho has the details.
Last Friday at the New Frontier Theater, Signal and MQuest Ventures introduced their 2025 Metro Manila Film Festival entry, Manila's Finest, a gritty action drama set in 1960s Manila, directed by Palme d'Or winner Raymond Red. Piolo Pascual stars as Captain Homer Magtibay, his third straight MMFF lead role. He's joined by Enrique Hill as First Lieutenant Billy Ojeda, marking his first film under MQuest Ventures. The story takes us back to the late 1960s, as Homer Magtibay investigates a series of brutal murders spreading through Manila's rapidly growing slums.
We were shown these clippings back in the 60s, how there was a lot of riots. Fast forward to now, it's still happening. And I think kailangan talaga magkaroon ng step, not just amongst us, but sa government. It's really the system. The bottom line naman dito yung sistema yung problema natin.
Beyond the action, the film explores the lives behind the badges, their loyalties, their struggles, and the sacrifices made by the people around them.
We go through the journey of witnessing maybe the crimes that have happened that tested the loyalty, the courage, and the bond of the brotherhood of our policemen. But more importantly, Manila's Finest also explores, the sacrifices of the families, of the friends, and the moral choices that shaped the city in that memorable era.
For Enrique Hill, the film is a reminder of what service and duty should stand for.
And more than anything, this film is about service. It's about brotherhood. It's about fighting for what's right, fighting for our justice system and for a better tomorrow. And we hope we all do that part.
With a stacked cast, Manila's Finest aims to deliver a big, bold reimagining of a pivotal moment in Philippine history. The film opens this December 25 at the MMFF. Kapatid Denise Valdesancho, we are One News.
The Philippines is set to make history by hosting its first ever Women's Tennis Association tournament in January 2026. Mobile journalist Ray Vicente has the report.
The Philippines is officially hosting its first ever Women's Tennis Association tournament this 2026. It's official! The Philippine Women's Open is added to the Women's Tennis Association calendar next year. The tournament will take place from January 26 to 31.
It's the first time we're having this and hosting this WTA Women's Professional Tournament. It's a great opportunity for the Filipinos to watch live top women professional players. We can learn from them, and of course our young tennis players can be inspired by watching. Alex has proven that we can excel in tennis. Right now she's only 20 years old and she's top 50 in the world. She's actually one of the inspirations for having this.
Filipino tennis player Alex Ayala was confirmed to sign up for the WTA 125 in Manila. However, Ayala's participation remains unsure due to overlapping schedule.
Ang binigay na open dates ng WTA was this date, January 24 to 31, and it is the second week of the Australian Open, which we all know is the first Grand Slam of the year. So Alex, being ranked number 50, is obviously qualified to straight into the main draw in singles and doubles of the AO. If Alex advances to the second week of the Australian Open, she will not be able to play in our tournament.
Yet it is still a win-win for the Philippines whether the tennis player advances or not, where she could play in WTA Manila. The organization also echoed that it will help promote the country's tourism through sports like tennis.
The Philippines is capable of hosting big events. Aside from promoting our country in different ways, sports tourism is one thing that we can explore, maximize, not only through festivities that tourists come, but through sporting events, they can come and they can experience what we call the Filipino hospitality.
The event will be held at the Rizal Memorial Sports Complex, which will be renovated in preparation for the Philippine Women's Open. Kapatid Ray Vicente, we are One News.
Ayan, so today is the Feast of the Immaculate Conception.
Yes. And I think yung nangyari kay former Commissioner Rowena Guanzon, Saturday ata yun eh.
Saturday, yeah. Correction pala na Saturday. Kasi we were watching it on social media yesterday.
Oh, and we were in that mall yesterday, pero wala naman nangyari.
Anyway,
tama ba? Saturday?
Wala. We were in the same mall, wala. So it was the day before. So pero yung babalik tayo sa Immaculate Conception,
Yes.
kasi PBBM has been very vocal about emulating the traits of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Time and again, pag nagkakaroon ng feast na to. So last year, he had the message. This year, ang mensahe kasi ng Pangulo said, our intentions shape our outcomes and the spirit in which we start a mission influences the fruit it bears. If we sow pride, we reap division. If we sow deceit, we reap distrust. So yun ang mensahe niya for yung Immaculate Conception.
Special non-working holiday.
And the Blessed Virgin Mary daw maganda i-emulate ang kanyang kindness, patience, and love na binibigay sa taong bayan, like a true mother.
At hindi po niya birthday ngayon, Feast of Immaculate Conception. Kasi medyo may confusion
October
sa social
ata yung birthday
media.
ni Mama. October 8 ang birthday ni Mama Mary.
Hindi
Alright.
rosary month yun.
September pala. Thank you, Direk.
sinasabi
Thank you,
ko.
Direk. September. Nalito. October,
Rosary
September,
month
December.
of-
Daming events eh.
Yes.
Alright, that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are one you.
All sides, all the time.